As a business owner, have you ever asked yourself, why am I even doing this? Maybe you started the business because you had a dream. You wanted more freedom. You wanted to provide for your family. You wanted to make an impact. You wanted to build something that really mattered. Somewhere along the way, though, the dream became more about deadlines. The excitement became exhaustion. The purpose became pressure. And now you're spending more time putting out fires than actually building the business. You're dealing with difficult clients, employees leaving, bills are still coming in, the marketing stopped working, the economy shifts. You work longer hours than you ever did before, but somehow feel further away from where you thought you'd be. And if we're honest, there are days that you wonder if maybe you completely missed God's calling. Maybe you've even prayed, Lord, am I supposed to keep doing this? Did I hear you wrong? Should I be closing the doors? Should I start over? Is there something else that you want me to do? If that's where you are today, I want you to know that you are not alone. I've been there more than once. There have been seasons where I have questioned everything. I wondered if I had built the wrong business. I wondered if I was forcing something God was trying to really end. I wondered if maybe I was simply holding on because I was afraid to let go. Those are really hard places to be. Because when you've poured years of your life into something, it's hard to separate what you do from who you are. Yesterday, I was reading in Romans chapter 11, and God showed me something that I had never really noticed before. Paul uses the picture of an olive tree, and some of the branches were natural, while others were grafted in. But here's what caught my attention. The branches never questioned whether they were attached to the right tree. They simply stayed connected to the root because the branch isn't what's creating life. The root does. And I couldn't stop thinking about how often we reverse that as business owners. We spend so much time asking, is this the right business? Should I pivot? Should I quit? Should I sell? Now, those are legitimate questions. These are the times that God absolutely leads people into something new. But what if, before God changes the business, he's actually trying to change you? That thought hit me because when I look back on my own journey, I realized that there were seasons where I thought that the business was the problem. I thought, well, maybe I should offer different services. If I had better clients, things would be better. If I made more money, rebranded, or if I started over, then I'd finally have the peace I'm looking for. But peace never comes from changing your circumstances if your identity is still attached to them. Looking back now, I can clearly see that God wasn't trying to rebuild my business first. He was actually rebuilding me. He was changing my heart and exposing my pride. He was teaching me to trust him. He was showing me that I had unknowingly allowed my business to become my identity. Maybe you've done the same thing. Let me ask a few questions. When somebody asks, tell me about yourself, is the first thing that you tell them what you do? If your business disappeared tomorrow, would you still know who you are? If you lost your biggest client, would you believe that you were still of value? If revenue was cut in half, would your confidence disappear with it? If you answered yes to any of those, you're not alone. I think many of us have been there because somewhere along the journey, we stopped being sons and daughters of God and started becoming our businesses. We wear the title CEO, owner, entrepreneur, founder, contractor, consultant, financial advisor, realtor, attorney, and before long, those titles define us. When business is good, we feel success. When business struggles, we feel like failures. When someone praises our work, we feel the security. When somebody leaves, we start questioning our worth. But that's a heavy burden for a business to carry because your business was never designed to tell you who you are. That's God's job. Romans 11 reminded me that the business is simply a branch. It's one branch on a much larger tree. The branch isn't the source. The branch receives life from the source. Christ is the root. Your identity as his child is the root. Everything else, your leadership, your business, your influence, your income, those are simply branches growing from the root. And here's something else I'm thinking about. Branches all have different seasons. Some seasons are full of fruit. Some seasons are quiet. Some seasons require pruning, and pruning is painful. No branch enjoys being cut back, but pruning isn't a punishment, it's preparation. Sometimes we think God is taking something away from us when he's actually making room for healthier growth. Could that be true in your business today? Maybe God isn't asking you to abandon your business. Maybe he's asking you to surrender it. Maybe he's not trying to remove you from where you've been planted. Maybe he's simply inviting you to trust him more deeply with where you already are. So instead of praying, God, will you change my business? What if we prayed, God, will you change me? Teach me to trust you when business is slow. Teach me humility when business is thriving. Teach me to lead people well. Teach me to care more about souls than sales. Teach me to steward this business instead of worshiping it. Teach me to remember that before I'm a business owner, I'm your child. Maybe today isn't about finding a new business. Maybe today is about rediscovering the root. Because healthy branches don't produce fruit by striving harder. They produce fruit because they are connected to the source of life. And when you are rooted in Christ, you'll stop looking to your business to give you an identity it was never meant to provide. You will lead differently. You will serve differently. You'll love your employees differently. You'll treat customers differently. And you'll even experience success and failure differently. Because your peace is no longer dependent on your circumstances. It will depend on the one who never changes. Thanks for joining me today on Watchpost Partners. If this episode encouraged you, I'd love for you to share it with another business owner who may be questioning where God has them right now. And remember, your business is something you steward. It's not who you are. Your identity isn't rooted in your revenue. Isn't rooted in your title. It isn't rooted in your success or your failures. It's rooted in Christ. So wherever God has planted you, lead faithfully, steward wisely, and impact intentionally.